Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial. Today I'm going to show you all how to paint this fall landscape with a church. I'm working on a 9 by 12 primed canvas. I pre-painted it black, I let it dry, and I've got the following colors here. I'll have a full list below this video in the description box as well. Titanium white, a cool lemon or neon yellow, blue turquoise here, phthalo blue, magenta, light olive green, Mars black, primary orange, and Napthol crimson. So let's go ahead and get started. The first brush I'm going to be using is my number 20 flat. I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet and I'm going to start painting in the sky with my phthalo blue here, a little bit of turquoise, and a little bit of white. So I'm just going to pull across the top of the canvas, side to side, working my way down, adding a little bit more white. I'm going to take a little bit of phthalo blue and magenta, a little bit of white, and I'm going to start adding that around the sides of the painting. And just using a little bit of water in between to help blend that paint across the canvas and work the paint out of my brush. Because quite oftentimes there's a lot of paint in our brush, we just can't release it without adding a little bit of water. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white now and my blue turquoise and just start adding a few little wiggles and lines like this for some clouds. Wiggle, wiggle, pull across, and you'll just get some natural looking clouds like this. And if you need to wait till it's all dry, you can do that, or use a hairdryer and dry it off. I kind of like to add mine to wet paint. That way you get this really soft blended look. I'm taking a little bit of magenta now with white. I've got a little bit of blue in my brush still. More white, a little bit of water, and just spread that around. I really want to play on the colors of fall in this painting. Now, if you don't have any magenta, you can also just use a little bit of purple or pink. Okay, the next color I'm going to use is some light olive green, a little bit of white, a little bit of that cool yellow, and a teeny bit of black. And I'm just going to start pulling it right where I left off with the sky. Take a little bit of white and yellow. A little bit more yellow and white. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of the blue turquoise now, phthalo blue, and a little bit of olive green and black. And I'm going to add a river or creek that comes into a little river or pond or lake right here. Add a little bit of white. And then I'm going to come around the sides with my neon yellow again and a little bit of olive green. I'm going to come in here and add some grass along the side. And that'll give our river or creek a flow over to this right corner. Okay, the next brush I'm going to be using is my 1-inch mop brush. A little bit of magenta like this, and I'm just going to start tapping in some bushes and trees in the background. Now our church is going to go over top of part of this area. Now we're going to have leaves down here too, so we can just tap a little bit of what's left over in our brush just to start creating a little bit of texture and leave a little bit of color there. I'm picking up the wet paint underneath. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take my number 14 filbert brush. I'm just going to go over with a few more clouds. So what I'm going to do is just take my white here and a little bit of that light blue turquoise, a little bit of water on my brush. Wiggle, wiggle, and pull. Clouds are when you can just really loosen up and be free. And it's when we're trying too hard to make our clouds that we get frustrated and don't like them. That's the tip though, is just, the trick is to just be a little looser and messier. Kind of gently scrub and then pull and blend. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow in there. A damp, clean brush, so it's just a little bit wet, just damp from rinsing it out. And I'm just going to softly blend those clouds. If you have too much water in your brush, you're going to take that paint right off though, and you'll lose your clouds. So just have a little bit of water on your brush. And the next thing I'm going to do is come in and add a little bit of depth around the edge of our creek or river here. And I'm just going to take a little bit of, let's take a little bit of black, blue, and magenta. And we'll just come and add a few little lopsided circles and ovals here different sizes, just to create some rocks and boulders here on the side. You could have some in the water too if you want. Okay, with a little bit of black left in my brush, I'm going to take my light olive green, mix it up to make an army green color. I'm just going to go right here under these trees, add a little bit at the base. Pull and sweep. A few lines here. Maybe there's some shadows here along the grass from some trees. Okay, clean brush. The next color, white, orange, and a bit of yellow. A little bit of red. Let's try not to over blend them, just kind of tap into them and have it kind of looking a little marbled like that. And then we'll just start coming in here with some fall colors. You can even tap if you want to give it a little bit more texture. We're going to slowly build this up as the painting progresses. I'm going to come and just tap, tap, tap like this. You can load the brush like this. Maybe make a few other little bushes in there. Tap up higher here. I'm going to use another mop brush. This is another 1 inch. You want to make sure it's dry. And we just want to take a little bit of white and yellow, orange and red. You got to have some white in there, otherwise it won't show up. And let's just start lightly tapping. Enjoy the process and all the color. Take a little bit of white, yellow, orange. I have a big, big tree in here. We'll do the first layer of branches. I'm going to take a little bit of magenta and crimson red as well. Let's just have a big, big tree reaching out over here. And then one that's just coming right out in the front here. Oh, I love those big glowing maple trees in the fall, don't you guys? That's what I love about the fall. It's just so cozy and bright and vivid, beautiful colors. Now going to go back over to my 20 flat brush, and I'm going to take some magenta, black and green, a little bit of blue maybe. We just want a really dark color here. And I want to add in a background line here, and then we can start coming in with our church after we're done this and we dry it off. But I do want to add a few more layers to our trees and the water as well. Okay, so now we have some distance. So I'm going to leave that for a minute. I'm going to take my number 3 round brush and a little bit of yellow, white, and olive green. And I'm just going to add a little bit of moss over these stones. Might need to add a little bit more once it dries, because the dark blackish base will show through. And this might disappear, so we'll see. We might have to come back and add a little bit more, but I think this is just so vibrant and complementary with the green, or all the reds, I mean. And even that touch of phthalo blue in there, it's just really, really pretty to look at. I like painting places that I'd like to be and really exaggerating on the colors, the shapes, the flow of the lines. And that's what art is all about. I had a discussion earlier. I had a live chat and I was talking to, I think Giselle, I think it was you, that we were talking about, you know, getting away from trying to create perfectionism. For one, it doesn't exist. Everybody has their own idea of what they like, what they don't like. So it's impossible. You're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to be happy if you're always trying to, you know, paint the perfect thing. And what you want to concentrate and focus more on, change your mindset. Really throw your paintings into what you love. What speaks to you when you're out in nature, or whatever it is, the subject that you're drawn to paint, and stay true to that. Don't fall into, well, this isn't what other people are painting and this isn't what theirs looks like. I need to change. No, you don't. You need to be original. You need to be you and authentic. So be true to yourselves. The rest will take care of itself at the right time, and you'll be a much happier person, because that just takes the pressure off, and just do what you want. Life is short, right? Okay, so now what I want to do is come in here with that lime kind of green color. So bright yellow, olive green, and a little bit of white. And I'm just going to add a skinny line right underneath the dark line that we have. Just add a little bit of this here and there. A little bit of this down here at the edge. A bit of this yellow in here that I'm applying is going to pick up with and layer over part of the orange and red, and it'll look like more shades of pretty leaves. Now we're going to add a tree trunk for these big trees here on the side. And I'm also going to add some yellow and more orange to these ones in the background. I'll dry that off, and then we'll just kind of finely mist over, dry brush over to set it in the background more. It'll be softer, and You'll see how that transforms as we go along here. I'm just going to use this little one right here. You can use any mop brush you feel comfortable with, but I want to kind of just make smaller looking highlights and shapes for these trees in the background. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, orange, and white and just start tapping over parts. Look at, we still see that beautiful magenta back there, and I'm going to be adding a little bit more of that color soon too. I just love it. I always love to incorporate magentas or violet purples. Quinacridone violet is another shade you can use into my fall paintings. You can add a little bit in here as well for some leaves. You have a little bit in between the rocks. Just scoop up all those colors, whatever color you want your leaves to be. Obviously they should reflect the colors that are on the trees above, right? That's where they're coming from. And you could be using any small brush for this step, even a fan brush. So by adding some little dabs like this here in the foreground, that is exactly what it does. It gives us foreground, and it sets everything else smaller, less detailed, and gives us perspective in a painting. So we feel this is closer and that's all farther away. So not everything should be in full focus and fully detailed in your paintings. Okay, so as that's drying back there, let's go over to our number 2 rigger brush. Take some black and some red, maybe some magenta. Just get a really dark color, beautiful rich tones. You can use just straight black if you want. And just come right off the canvas on an angle like that. Start pulling and wiggling some branches in here. You want to have some branches that are thicker, of course, and then what you'll do for those smaller ones is just let off on the amount of pressure you're applying, concentrating on just using the very tip of the brush. Okay, now let's come over to this one here. And let's just add a little base for the tree right there. And we'll make this one more straight up and down. Twist and roll. Add a little bit of this color in the water. I think it looks so pretty with that deep bluey green. Okay, I'm going to use my number 3 round brush again, and I'm going to go into my phthalo and turquoise blue, a little bit of white, and I'm going to add a little bit more color here and there. A little bit of water on my brush. Okay, clean little mop brush here, a little bit of white and yellow. We'll just soften back here before we dry it off and lightly mist over. I have a little up here on this tree. I'm gonna add another rock right there. Use some magenta and black. Just a big one right there. And then come over with my green. I'm going to add a little highlight here with my number 3 round brush. So a little bit of white with the black and red. We'll just catch the inside left side here. And a little bit on this one as well. I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue and add that to the black and magenta. A little bit more white. Now I'm going to take my number 14 filbert brush and I'm just going to mist over these trees in the background. Use just a little bit of white. And that'll give us a little bit more perspective. Okay, and then I'm going to take some white again, and I'm going to add some inside my clouds. Same way, just a little wiggle. Notice how I'm adding extra white right inside them so that the outer edges of them are a little bit softer looking. Okay, I'm going to go pick up a little bit of the blues with my white, and I'm just going to add a little bit of light in here. Some highlights here on the water. Little bit extra white just on the very tip, like the smallest amount here. We'll feel a little bit more movement, a little bit of a current flowing when we do this. We will start painting our church very soon, but I want to add a little bit more to the trees here. So I'm going to use another mop brush and take a little bit of white, yellow, and red, orange, yellow, white, and red. Light little tap. Same with here. Let's add some more yellow. Okay, I'm going to take some of my magenta, some red, and add some thicker leaves here in the foreground. Add a little bit of that magenta on part of the tree as well. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white, magenta, a soft pink. Add a little bit of this in here. A little bit on the inside of the tree. I'm going to make a greenish turquoise with my blue turquoise, bright yellow, and white. Add a hint of that in here. Okay, so I'm just going to use my round brush, and I'm going to take white and paint a rectangle right here, right over that line. And then I'm going to take magenta blue and white, and I'm going to paint a square for the front. The color is different from the side because this is on the shadow side and this has got highlights. And then I'm going to paint a triangle on top of that, a bit of a wider one so it has it's hanging over. I'm going to take a little bit of white, add a little line like that, a few little lines. Just on the inside. Okay, I'm going to take some more white again, and I'm going to bring this up a little bit higher. And then I'm going to add a little triangle right here, and then one right here. I'm going to add a little bit of that light purpley blue. It's a little bit too dark. And then I'm going to add a little rectangle in bright white. So it goes along with the bright highlight here. I'm going to come in with red, orange, black, a little bit of white, a little bit of turquoise in there to gray it up. Let's use this color that we've got over here. Any color of gray you want. I'm going to add a thin line on the front. Cut across. Pull across, overhang a little bit. See where the peak is from here? Make the end of the church the same height as that. Then I am going to just add a little bit of length to my church. I want it to be just a little bit longer. And then I'm going to come inside with a little bit of white here, and I want you to follow along in this direction when we add just some highlights inside. So just a little bit of white to make a lighter shade. Just inside, leaving it darker on the outside. Okay, the next step, I'm going to take just a little bit of black in with, just make a dark gray again. Then I'm going to have a little line that goes across the front and then one across the side. We're just going to add a little dab there to give it some height. And then I'm going to come right underneath the roof line. And then just clean it up with the white. Now I'm just doing this because I need to, but you might not need to. Add a little bit of white again inside here. Make that nice and bright. Okay, now we're going to add a smaller square on the front and the side. It's going to get narrower and narrower until we make that peak on the top. Now we'll cut in with some shadows here. Let's add that bluey gray shadow color, what we've got here. And come inside this one again, and then right inside there. And the next part is the peak, the narrow peak that comes up. So bring it up to there, very skinny, and then it comes down. This side of this skinny triangle will be bright. Hope you guys are enjoying this so far. I'm really liking this one. I haven't painted many churches, but the one I did, I've had so many. It was a few years ago, and I've had a lot of requests for another one, so I listen to you guys and pay attention to your requests. Now, if you have something you'd like to see me paint, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. And of course, on Patreon, where I probably get to it a lot faster because that's one of the perks of being one of my Patreon members. Okay, I'm just gonna come down here, add a little bit right there. Okay, I'm gonna add a little line, a little bit of water on my brush, and this sort of plum grayish color. I start here and then go down. This way it always gives it a little bit of height and a little bit more architecture when you have a little dab up top and then bring it down and across. Add a little cross at the top, just a faint little one like that. I may come in with my tiny liner brush. I've got a really small liner brush here. I'm going to come in and add my second layer of white. And then my grayish, bit of a shadow there. Now we can come in and add some windows. Now I'm going to add the windows with, first I want to add a little bit of a pretty purpley shadow on this side of the church, just from maybe some trees and bushes. I'll just add a little bit. Come down here. Add a few little squiggles down there at the base. Add another line here for the front of the church. A little bit of green and black. Right along the base of the church. And let's come in and add some windows now. So I'm just gonna make a dark color. You can use straight black if you want. I'm just using some magenta in with my blue. And I'm going to add some little rectangles. Need a little bit of water on my brush for this. When you're using a tiny brush like this, you need a little bit of water with your paint. let's add one more here. You can add as many windows as you want. You don't have to add 4 on the side like me. If you want to add just 2 or 3, that's fine. Add just a little bit of dark color there. And I think I'll add a little skinny arch window right here. So just gently up and around and then straight down. Add a little bit more shadow down along this side. Same color. I'm going to add a half circle here, a half circle here, one that comes up a little bit higher, and it comes up just a little bit higher here, and then I'll even add a little dab right up top there. Then skinny rectangles for the rest of the window. Just gonna add a little bit of a shadow inside this roof line here. And then 1, 2, let me get a little bit more water. It's so hot in my studio today. The paint is drying so fast. If you want your paint to stay wet longer, work in a cool room, okay, just a little something like that. Here on the roof line, I'm gonna clean that up just by adding a little bit of white across like this and up. And just add that to my cloud. I think I want to come in here and add a little bit more white. Clean these windows up. A little bit more of a highlight inside the roof, applying it diagonally like this. I think I'll just add a few little purple flowers. Magenta, blue, and white. I'll just add a few little bushes here. It's fall, but the flowers, not everything's dead yet, right? We've still got some beautiful flowers in bloom. Add a little hint of this to the tree. Add a little highlight, adding a little bit more white and just little dabs like this. I'm gonna go back into my black magenta. Got a few more rocks in here. A little bit more too. Parts of the tree trunk. And back over to green. Just add a little bit more in here as well. I'm going to take my magenta. I'm going to add a little bush over here. A little bit of white. Push and tap. And over to my liner brush, rigger brush. I'll just add a few branches here. A little bit of olive green with my black. Bring back a few of those lines that we originally had. A little bit of white. Okay, I'm just going to go over to my little filbert brush, number 14 filbert, a little bit of that yellow or green and white. I'm going to add a little wiggle over to the right, wiggle over to the left. And make it feel like a path. I might even go over this little bush right here and make this a path. Does it ever happen to you guys when you're in the middle of painting and you just decide, oh, I think I want to take that part of the painting out and make it something else? I know it can be scary sometimes, but I hope that when you guys watch me do this, that it kind of gives you a little bit more motivation to try going with the things that you think about but you're too scared to try or change. I'm just going to tap in a little bit in here. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of white and magenta. And add just a little bit. Hint of it back there. I'm going to pull in a little bit more of my, open my river creek up a little bit more right here. So I'm just going right over with my phthalo and my white. There, I think I like the way that feels a little bit better. I'm going to add a little bit of my blue turquoise in here. A little bit of white, finish it off. A little swirl. Add some flow to that little creek. Okay, I'm just going to finish the painting off by adding some leaves in the foreground. I'm using my rigger brush. I'm just going to tap and dab some leaves here on the side of our path. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this off by adding a few more branches with my red, magenta, and black. just a little bit more leaves in here on the grass. Add a touch of white to this soft little pink cloud. And a little bit of green here in the front. We've got that shadow, but also a little bit more of a highlight just in front of that. Okay, so I know I said I was just about done, and I am. I promise. I'm just going to take a little bit of my cool bright lemon yellow here. Just add a little bit more sunlight. With some purple shadows. Adding a little bit to the path here. Okay, I'm going to get out my light blue violet. This is a really beautiful shade from Liquitex Basics Acrylic. I use this quite a bit, and I'm just going to add the final little bit of blue shadows on this front of the church. So I don't want to have too much paint on my brush. You'll see it just glows. It's so pretty. And with my little liner brush, I'm going to add a tiny bit of white for a line across those windows. Okay, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today for this painting tutorial. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I always love hearing from you guys and reading your comments. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more and join Patreon. Check out all the links below this video in the description box. See you all soon in my next video. Bye!